So can a baby that has oxygen deprivation at birth, can they go on to suffer a CP or a cerebral palsy diagnosis? The short answer to this question is that yes. In some instances, when a baby suffers oxygen deprivation at birth, they can go on to suffer a subsequent CP or a cerebral palsy diagnosis. Now, before I get too deep into this video, I want to make sure that it's clear that when we're talking about oxygen deprivation and a reduction in oxygenated blood getting to a baby, which can lead them to suffer a traumatic brain injury, in my context, the initial oxygen deprivation can be caused or can be diagnosed as an HIE injury, a hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy injury. Not all babies who have this HIE injury will go on to suffer a CP or a cerebral palsy diagnosis. But in some instances, if the oxygen deprivation goes on for too long and there is a severe injury, yes, in some cases, a baby can go on to suffer a CP diagnosis. This is why it is critical that when you're going through labor and delivery, that doctors and nurses, that they pay close attention to how not only mom is progressing through this process, but what's going on with baby. What are the readings on the electronic fetal heart monitor like? What are the complaints that mom may have? I know this term fetal distress is not used a lot in our context anymore, but when a baby is no longer tolerating a vaginal delivery, it is imperative that doctors and nurses, that they act accordingly to help this child out. Because when a baby goes on and there is oxygen deprivation, there is a cutoff of oxygenated blood getting to that baby, you do not have to be a birth injury lawyer like myself or a doctor or a nurse to understand that we as humans, we cannot go on for too long without oxygen. So the point of this video today is to help you understand that yes, in some instances, if there is an oxygen deprivation and this deprivation goes on for a considerable amount of time, when there is a severe injury to a severe brain injury to the baby, in some instances, the baby will go on and suffer a CP or a cerebral palsy diagnosis. If you have more questions, or say you have questions about your baby's CP diagnosis, maybe they have an HIE diagnosis and you're worried about, okay, whether there's going to be a subsequent CP diagnosis coming down the horizon, and do you want to know whether the doctors, the nurses, whether they caused this through medical malpractice on their part, or was this something that was developmental? Was this something that was genetic? If you have those types of questions, what I invite you to do is to go and get your cell and give me a call. There is a phone number down below on the screen. Get your cell and call my office. I talk with families like yours all the time about these types of issues: cerebral palsy, HIE, MAS, meconium aspiration syndrome. This is what we do. This is how we help families. Remember, when you contact my office and you talk to my secretary, make sure you pick a good date and a time to get on our calendar so we can know when to call you back. That's important. And number two, make sure that you give them a good email address, an email address that you check frequently, because sometimes we will have to contact you through email, and we want to make sure that we're sending our information to you through an email account that you check. And finally, I practice law here in the state of Maryland. I know sometimes we'll have individuals, they will contact us. They are in the United States, but they may not necessarily be in Maryland. If that is you, just understand that we have to use what we call co-counsel or local counsel. In other words, a lawyer in your state, and that's something that we can look to work to help you with. But I just want to make sure that you understand that local counsel or co-counsel aspect of things if you are not here in the state of Maryland. All right, that's going to be it for today's quick educational video. Again, I'm Marcus Boston, and I'm one of the childbirth injury and medical malpractice lawyers here practicing law at Boston Law Group, LLC in the state of Maryland. We'll talk with you next time. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.